Mr. Seah Kian Peng.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise in support of the motion put forth by my fellow MP, Mr. Louis Ng. Climate change requires collective action. All of us acting in concert, with resolution, and most importantly, with wide agreement on the sorts of policy and behavior that we must all adopt. As you have seen in the current pandemic, even in matters of life and death, there is sometimes room for non-compliance, for ways to get around, learning how to bend, if not break the rules. So why do we do this? Public health is a funny creature of collective action. It requires all of us to play our part, and together we benefit. It is vulnerable too. If the few do not comply, the many suffer. And because it is a matter of health, we sometimes pay the highest price. And yet, people disregard this cost because they think they are not the ones to pay it. Because of this lack of direct link between the cost of health, or rather the cost of harm, and the final person who bears the burden, public health outcomes require strong regulatory intervention and social pressures. The environment is another peculiar sort of creature of collective action. It is what we would call a common pool resource, a sort of thing which everyone extracts benefits from, with almost no cost, but whose value is degraded with each use. Unlike a pandemic, however, this creature is even more vulnerable because its voice is very, very soft. The price, too, is high, but paid in generations. So each one does not think of the final tally. The harm, too, is great, but borne unevenly, so that even as some die because of air pollution, others live in air-conditioned comfort. And so power and justice come apart. Climate change is an important and significant issue confronting Singapore today, and it has become trite to use the word existential when it comes to the narrative in this House. Everything, because we are small, becomes a matter of life and death. Each minister, each MP in our wards and constituencies, we have natural and understandable instincts to speak loudest and feel strongest about our own place and cause. But as a country, we must decide as a whole what things are most important. Singapore's total defense was conceptualized in 1984 to underscore the importance of a whole-of-society approach to national security. The message was simple and clear. Everyone has a part to play in protecting Singapore from internal and external threats. Up till 2019, total defense comprised 5 pillars. Digital defense was subsequently added as a 6th pillar, a move that rightly reflected the need for Singaporeans to be aware and better equipped to handle online threats to Singapore society, such as fake news. And so today our 6 pillars of total defense are military, civil, economic, social, digital, and psychological defense. Psychological defense refers to our mind, each person's commitment to and confidence in the nation's future. Social defense to our links with each other in harmony and with a strong idea of our common interests. Economic defense is about jobs. Government, business and industry all working together for joint prosperity. Digital defense, civil defense and military defense are 3 rings of national security, making sure all of us are defending our key interests in cyberspace, in emergencies and in times of war. Today, I'm asking this House to consider adding another pillar, climate defense. I supported this call during last year's Committee of Supplies debate, and I continue to support it because I believe that it is an important step in Singapore's fight against climate change. And there are three reasons. The first, because it is like all 6 other pillars. Second and third reason, because it is so different. Like other types of threats that Singapore face, climate change and its associated effects, such as rising sea levels, pose clear and high-risk threats towards the well-being of Singapore and Singaporeans, as well as our way of life. And this is seen in the 2019 National Day Rally, where PM, let me quote him, he said, "We should treat climate change defenses like we treat the SAF, with utmost seriousness," unquote. So it's quite clear that PM already then identified as an emergency, a climate emergency. Unlike threats such as terrorism, war, and current pandemic, climate change and environmental disasters do not have high salience. In fact, these issues face a perfect storm: low salience, high blame avoidance, and very little chance for credit claiming. In addition, each person would feel that his own effort would probably not move the needle. Hence, many Singaporeans do not have climate change in the foreground issue and do not incorporate climate defense in their psyche. Placing climate change as a 7th pillar will give it priority and urgency. As a pillar of total defense, climate defense will be placed on the same pedestal as other threats. This sends a very clear message to all Singaporeans about the importance of tackling climate change and how it should be a priority. More importantly, it underscores how a whole of society approach is needed to combat climate change, and this leads me to the second significance. Another reason, again, one which distinguishes climate change from other pillars, is that it is not defense against any specific threat, such as malicious foreign actors, economic crises, or cyber attackers. Rather, it is a defense against the exorable environmental degradation that we can all play a part to fix. Climate change, like other threats, will affect all Singaporeans. But the good news is that everyone can also do their part to combat it, instead of solely relying on the government. While seemingly small, individual actions can add to substantive contributions towards Singapore's fight against climate change. Reducing individual consumption and wastage is one such way. We can all make a conscious effort to reduce food waste as well as our plastic waste, of which the latter is unfortunately experiencing an increase, in my opinion, because of COVID-19 and the shift towards e-commerce. Individuals are in a position to also set their own environmental targets and evaluate their lifestyles to see if they have achieved what they set out to do. As what Mr. Louis Ng had said earlier, as a signatory to the Paris Climate Agreement, Singapore has demonstrated that despite being a small country, it has an interest in combating climate change and is very much committed to doing so. Common perception amongst many people is that Singapore is a small country and any action taken will not have a significant effect on climate change. But if every country thinks this way, then nothing will be done. The consequences of that are unimaginable. By adopting climate defense as a pillar of total defense, it demonstrates that Singapore is a responsible member of the international community with regards to climate change and can be trusted to adhere to the goals set under the Paris Climate Agreement. Mr. Speaker, sir, being the 7th pillar of total defense entails a more organized, more deliberate and strategic approach by the government to its climate adaptation and mitigation policies. And just as important is that these policies and strategies must be communicated well to the public. And that would mean a targeted approach to comms with usage of different mediums and content for different age demographics. There should also be a focus on education as a way to facilitate and inculcate long-term behavioral change. The emphasis should be on promoting sustainable behavior, particularly with regards to the 3 Rs: reduce, reuse, and recycle. The notion of environmental stewardship should also be underscored, where we have a responsibility to the next generation to leave them a society that is better than the one we inherited. This can be done by fostering in our young ones a connection with the natural environment. This motion proposed by Mr. Louis Ng has already consulted in the course of the year several groups of people, different parts of the civil society. I want to also acknowledge the good work that Mr. Louis Ng and his team has put in. Mr. Speaker, sir, making the climate our seventh pillar cannot be the old green message in new bottles. Aside from behavioral nudges, there must be resolution towards new laws and regulations. There must be a new willingness to make the market work for the environment. There must be more will, more attention, and more resources. The government has already said that it is committed to working on the mitigation measures against climate change, but that is not enough. We need every one of us to do so too. Let us make climate defense the seventh pillar of our total defense. Thank you.